Hey, lovely people. It's Leah here, and I'm not doing good. I'm kind of sick. But I had to. I really wanted to put out a new book review video. It's been a while, and I actually, because of that, I have 4 books here that I want to talk about. Yay! So yeah, not gonna say much more. My energy is very, very low. So I'm just gonna start. So the first one is William Shakespeare, Hamlet. My first Shakespeare to read. I've of course been exposed to stories like Romeo and Juliet, and I also knew parts of Hamlet stories. I guess everyone just hears about them in our school, because my mother tongue is German. Or Swiss German, we wouldn't read Shakespeare, so it wasn't common. So yeah, it was my first Shakespeare reading in English, of course, as my second language, and there were some challenges with the language, but it wasn't all too bad, I guess is what I could say. But there were definitely like parts where I was like stumbling or a little bit confused because there's a lot of abbreviations in there, like words, like letters from words are just left out with, and an apostrophe is put in the middle of words. Those times I often could figure it out, but very often it would just be one letter and then an apostrophe, and then I kind of had to guess what would that mean. So maybe this is like easier to read if you have someone that can interpret it for you. Nevertheless, I mean, I understood the story. That's not a problem at all. So, understanding what's happening in the story in and of itself, it's just if you want to understand every single sentence, that can be a little bit harder. But other than that, I mean, I think everyone knows Hamlet is a good story, and it absolutely is. It was interesting to read a play because I also think that's my first play that I sorry, that I ever read. So that was also a cool experience, and I really enjoyed it. And in case someone doesn't know Hamlet, once again, I'm not going to spoil anything. But yeah, it's a good story, and also this is why I chose this one as my first Shakespeare. It's rather small. Yeah, it's under 200 pages even. So personally, I can recommend it. I liked it. And yeah, let's move on. I'm sorry, I'm like a little bit ugh. Next one is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, and this was my favorite book in this bunch. 5-star read. Absolutely love the story. I could not put it down. You follow Holden, and it's a little bit of a coming of age story, I guess, if you will. And you're like constantly in his train of thoughts, and he's one of those people that they just keep thinking and thinking and thinking and connecting like weird things and jumping from one idea to the next. And like even when he's talking with people, he could like in the background you will get to know his thoughts, which can be all over the place. And that was just, I don't know, it was something so fascinating about that to me, because of course I heard about ADHD and like other people that have like trouble focusing, and but like to like read it and in that sense almost experience it, because it's in the first person, right? Yes, it is. So almost like experiencing it as you're reading it, these I thoughts in first person, you're like, whoa, like this is kind of, it was almost like going on a trip a little bit together with Holden. And it's I should say it's not exactly a happy story, so that's maybe good to know. So if you're not in a happy place, maybe this is not the book for you right now. Other than that, like I said, I really loved it. I can't talk too much about what's happening because I would feel like even the slightest hint is in a sense a spoiler. But yeah, so you just follow Holden, and just over a couple of days actually, but there's so much happening, and especially in his head, and the things that he means to do, that it's like, I don't know, it's so hard to explain. I just could not put this book down. I wanted to constantly know, so what did you do then, or where did his thoughts go next, or what is his plan now? And also, even though I just said we're following over him over a couple of days, we also get to know a lot from his past, when his thoughts go back, and he's telling us things that have happened earlier in his life. So yeah, so I feel like I know who he is. It's so funny, a fictionist person. And I also should I say that I'm considering telling how I like the ending. Maybe I'm not gonna say it. So once again, 5-star read. I would definitely recommend it, but it's not a happy book. So that's good to know. But it's a very good book. Yeah. So that's Catcher in the Rye. And after Catcher in the Rye, I read How Do You Live by Genzaburo Yoshino. I hope I said that correctly. So this book has been at least the inspiration or the basis for one of the Ghibli studio movies. It even says here, I think. No, that says something else. Over 2 million copies sold. Okay, good for you. I don't like when they do that, like especially if it's a non-removable sticker. It's like, I don't care. I just want my book cover clean. Anyhow, so this is also a coming-of-age story. Here we follow little children, and as they go through school and things happening, and it's very, very cute. And it's good to know it's a children's book. It's a children's story. I didn't fully understand that when I went into it. Maybe I should have, thinking that Studio Ghibli movies are like children animes. But I didn't, so I was at some point a little bit, oh, okay, so I'm reading a book or a story for kids. But nevertheless, so once I realized that, and then I had that as my expectation, I really enjoyed it. It's very cute, it's very lighthearted, it's of course in the end very positive, but also like lessons for the kids to learn, and yeah, it's just incredibly cute. I think that's the most fitting adjective for this story. So I can recommend it. I do personally always like to read books, especially if I know their basis for an anime or movie or TV series. So here I also would say read this first, and then maybe watch the Studio Ghibli. Or if you've already seen the Studio Ghibli and you're interested in the basis. So that would be this guy. So yeah, I don't think I have much more to say. Yeah, children growing up and doing funny things and learning stuff. It's very interesting. And lastly, another famous author, but first book for me, Agatha Christie, and then there were none. Is this the most famous story? I might be inclined to think so. When you have 10 people going to a dinner party, and then one by one they get murdered, and someone must be the culprit, right? Or is there someone hidden, or what's happening? So I didn't know. I just knew what I just said as the general concept going into this book. And that's it. So I had no idea of the conclusion, or if we would even get the result to the mystery, or if the mystery would be open-ended or whatever. So going into this, I really liked it. It's also written in these very small chapters, because you're switching POVs between the different characters that are in the story. Or you have like chapters, and then you have like sub-chapters, if you will, and then the sub-chapters are these different POVs. But in a sense, so to me, like when I have a small chapter and it goes so fast, I just keep reading. It's just something that really works for me. So this one I read in like 2 days. It's not a very big book either, but yeah, I wanted to know who's next, and what is happening, and I did myself try to figure it out, like what is actually going on, or how are certain things done. I guess I can honestly say no, I wasn't right. So my thought was actually my thought was actually wrong in the end. But I still very much enjoyed it to try and do it, and yeah, I thought it was very cool. And also in the beginning, in this edition that I have, we have a little note from Agatha Christie herself, which I really love, and I'm gonna quickly read that note. So it's nothing to do with the story, no spoilers. So this is author's note. I had written this book because it was so difficult to do that the idea had fascinated me. I love that already. That's like just, I love people like that want the challenge, you know. 10 people had to die without it becoming ridiculous or the murderer being obvious. I wrote the book after a tremendous amount of planning, and I was pleased with what I had made of it. It was clear, straightforward, baffling, and yet had a perfectly reasonable explanation. I loved when I read that. I was like, okay, good. So it's not just like, you know, there's some like less good detective stories that just whip out a rabbit of a hat and make like stuff that doesn't make sense, so it's not really possible. Or they even change like something that they previously stated in order to make it possible and things like that. So when I read that, I was like, that's good, and I can confirm it's true. In fact, it had to have an epilogue in order to explain it. So there you go. So you do get the conclusion. If you read the epilogue, you can also choose not to. It was well received and reviewed, but the person who was really pleased with it was myself. I just love that. For I knew better than any critic how difficult it had been. Agatha Christie. I wonder if this is her like actual signature. I don't know. So that was the fourth book that I read, and those are the 4 books. My next books will arrive soon. I will probably do a TBR or WBR, as I call it, will be read once I get them. In the meantime, I will continue to read this big chunker, still at it. I haven't forgotten. I always read a little bit once I read my regular books, if you will. George R. R. Martin and Storm of Swords. I think it's more than halfway, or just halfway-ish. So getting there, slowly but surely. Okay, I guess I should go. I'm tired. I'm probably gonna lay down soon. Yeah, and hopefully I get better, and hopefully my voice is, I can hear it myself. It's not there, but hopefully it's understandable. So that's all from me. I hope you're doing well, and keep reading, and see ya.